Now, for more details about what's happening in Ukraine, in the capital Kyiv today, we are now being joined by Katerina Koval from Kyiv, the Ukrainian capital. She's a Ukrainian politician and a defense and security expert. Katerina, thank you so much for joining us on WION at this hour. Tell us about what is happening in the Ukrainian capital today. We are, of course, getting reports of continued bombing.
Hello, and thank you for a question. Thank you for an invitation. And first, I would like to say that now I'm here in shooting not far from the place that I am. And if it will be the urgent call, we should stop the interview and I should go to the safe place.
Absolutely. So, Katerina, we'll keep those security requirements in mind.
Okay, thank you. So the situation in the capital is very hard. And yesterday we had a great battle near the Kyiv, and it was almost 10 kilometers from Kyiv, and there is an airport. The name of the airport is Hostomel, and there was a great battle. Russian troops attacked, but we vanquished Russian troops, but there still we have battles 10 kilometers from Kyiv. You understand that it's a real danger. And in the morning, on the left bank of the river Dnipro, left side of Kyiv, we had bombing from Russian Federation. It was from missiles and from drones. Our military forces, Ukrainian, vanquished these drones. And if you've seen in the pieces of news that the plane crashed and it was just near the houses of people in living region, and it's really terrible.
Right, absolutely. Thank you for those updates, Katerina. My next question to you, we've heard the Ukrainian President Zelensky, appeal to the youth of the nation, to all able citizens to come forward and said that arms will be given to whoever is willing to help Ukraine in this fight for freedom. He has also said that the sanctions imposed by the Western powers are nowhere near enough and that the world at large has left Ukraine alone to fight against Russia. What's your assessment of the Ukrainian army's expertise at this point in its fight against Russian troops?
Yes, of course. And this night, President Zelensky, he signed the mobilization in Ukraine. And from this day, it has started. And I'm the reserve officer of Ukraine. And so I'm waiting for the call, waiting for the next information. Of course, there is three sectors of mobilization, and for now it has started the first sector. It is people who were mobilized from 2014 till 2018, and who has the experience in wars and who served in the army as a soldier from 2014 to 2018. For now, they started to mobilization, and then it will be the second part, the third part, the third sector, and then the fourth sector is from the civil population. So for now, it has started the first sector. So we are waiting another information for me, for example, as an officer, as a reserve officer.
Right. You know, Katerina, you mentioned for you as a reserve officer, it's a wait and watch game. How do you see this crisis unfolding in the next few days? Are you afraid of more attacks, more shelling and bombing in the Ukrainian capital especially? And how do you see the Russian troops responding and going forward? How do you see Russia's aggression panning out? Do you see this crisis resolving in any way or form?
I see that Russia wouldn't stop to a pity because Russia don't accept any diplomatic way, any negotiations, and Russia continuous bombing big cities and other cities near the border and even the capital of Ukraine. So it is no diplomatic way. But of course, as a person, as a human, I believe that it could be the diplomatic way because I'm besides be the professional diplomat of Ukraine. But as I see that now I was telling you that now I hear in shooting not far from this place. So we understand that Russia would like to occupy Kyiv to a pity. But I believe in our army, of course, in our defense forces.
Right, absolutely. Just wrapping up our discussion here, Katerina, given your expertise in the field, how do you see this crisis panning out? And I want your kind of bucket list of what does Ukraine need as of now. We're talking about sanctions, we're talking about lots of words of promise from Western powers, from other European leaders that we stand with Ukraine. Harsher sanctions will be imposed against Russia. This will not be tolerated. But what does Ukraine need right now to fight this enemy?
Of course, we understand that in the global world, war it isn't only troops. War is economic war, or war is also war in the information war. And of course, we are waiting for strong sanctions from our partners, from the USA and from Europe. Of course, we understand that Russia and the United States and the European countries have a strong economical policy, economical connection. So it is one of the sectors of this war. And of course, Russia Federation has a strong information war against Ukraine. And I believe, I guess, I appeal to our partners in Europe and in the United States and in the whole world to help Ukraine with this informational war, to show more information about Russian propaganda, about Russian trolls in social medias, about Russian working with people on the territory of Ukraine. Please help us and show more information about this.
Absolutely. Katerina, thank you so much for speaking to us on WION World as One. And we wish you all the best and stay safe. Now let's get you more insights into this conflict. Russia is facing severe sanctions by Western allies after Moscow invaded Ukraine in the early hours on Thursday, in the biggest assault by a state since the end of the Second World War. But the Ukrainian President Zelensky says that the sanctions imposed on Russia are not enough. European Union imposed 5-pronged economic sanctions against Russia, targeting its financial, energy and transport sectors. The European Union will freeze Russian assets in the bloc and halt its banks' access to European financial markets. Targeting 70% of Russian banking markets, the sanctions also target state-owned companies, including those in the field of defense. The proposals add that 2 Russian private banks will be sanctioned, and they would be put on the sanctioned entities lists. Russians prohibited from depositing over $1.12 million in EU banks. Europe imposes measures that will increase Russian borrowing costs. Meanwhile, the EU has banned the sale of aircraft spare parts to Russian airlines, thus degrading one of Russia's key sector and connectivity and limiting Russian access to crucial technology. And it has even suspended all Russian diplomatic visas.
The United Kingdom, Canada and Norway have maximum impact on the Russian economy and the political elite. And it is built of 5 pillars. The first is the financial sector. Second, the energy sector. The third is the transport sector. Fourth are export controls and the ban of export financing. And finally, visa policy. Let me highlight some of the most important points.
The European Union has decided to hold off from cutting Moscow off from SWIFT, the global interbank payment system, although the United States and its allies have confirmed that they are not taking SWIFT sanctions off the table, as Britain and others call for imposing additional sanctions. Meanwhile, the French President Emmanuel Macron batted for keeping dialogue open with the Kremlin at the EU summit on Friday. Macron said that sanctions remained useful, adding that France will be rolling out additional sanctions. It remained useful to leave the path for dialogue open for cessation of hostilities. Macron was the only Western leader to speak to Putin after Russia invaded its pro-West neighbor.
Et ensuite, tout en condamnant, tout en sanctionnant, tout en continuant à décider et agir, de laisser ce chemin ouvert pour que le jour où les conditions pourront être remplies, nous puissions obtenir une cessation des hostilités pour les Ukrainiennes et pour les Ukrainiens.
Berlin has put the Nord Stream 2 certification on ice right now. Remember, the pipeline project is already complete and runs from Russia to Germany and was awaiting regulatory approval by the EU and German authorities before Russian aggression against Ukraine. The United States imposed sanctions against the company in charge of building the gas pipeline. Canada too announced sanctions against the Kremlin, calling Putin's move barbaric. Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau announced sanctions against 62 individuals and entities targeting major banks and members of the government. Canada also cancelled all export permits following the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
30 days. But we said that Russia must immediately cease all hostile actions against Ukraine and withdraw all military and proxy forces from the country. Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity must be respected, and the Ukrainian people, like all people, must be free to determine their own future.
The United Kingdom announced unprecedented sanctions against the Kremlin. Prime Minister Boris Johnson unveiled the largest ever package of sanctions against Russia, targeting not only banks and financial institutes, but also individuals, including Kirill Shamalov, Putin's one son-in-law. Meanwhile, America rolled out robust sanctions targeting Moscow's financial system, blocking assets of large Russian banks and business oligarchs, and imposing export controls aimed to hurt its high-tech needs. Japan imposed sanctions targeting Russian financial institutes after G7 leaders agreed to penalize Moscow over the Ukrainian invasion. Japan will impose penalties targeting semiconductor exports and suspend visa issuance to Russian individuals and organizations. The world's third largest economy is also planning to freeze assets of Russian financial institutions.
国際社会の懸命の努力にもかかわらず行われた今回のロシア軍によるウクライナへの侵攻は、力による一方的な現状変更の試みであり、ウクライナの主権と領土の一体性を侵害する明白な国際法違反です。国際秩序の根幹を揺るがす行為として断じて許容できず、厳しく非難します。
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.